Know that God is good. Know that God is good. Know that God is good. God is good. God is good. Mungu ni mwema. Mungu ni mwema. Mungu ni mwema. Ni mwema. Ni mwema. C'est vrai, Dieu est bon. C'est vrai, Dieu est bon. C'est vrai, Dieu est bon. Dieu est bon. Dieu est bon. Know that God is good. Know that God is good. Know that God is good. God is good. God is good. Yeah. I am a dream, and you're the dreamer. I am the song, and you are the vine. You're the tune sung in every silence. You are the now, the endless stream of time. I am the bell, and you the silence. You are the yearning I cannot curtail. I am the blessed and you're the blessing. You are the one in which I lose my trail. You are the word and I the echo. You are the leader, and I am the land. You're the joy and my laughter. You are the rock on which I lay my head. We don't do this section very often. This is the day that God has made. We will rejoice and be glad. This is the day that God has made. We will rejoice and be glad. Singing hallelujah, singing hallelujah, singing hallelujah. We will rejoice and be glad, singing hallelujah, singing hallelujah, singing hallelujah. We will rejoice and be glad. This is the day that God has made. We will rejoice and be glad. This is the day that God has made. We will rejoice and be glad. Singing hallelujah, singing hallelujah, singing hallelujah. We will rejoice and be glad, singing hallelujah, singing hallelujah, worldwide. This is our sacred living trust, treasure of life, sanctified, called by earth and sky, called by earth. Oceans free, waters of healing, rivers of rain, the wash of love again, all by earth and sky, promise of hope high. This is our sacred living trust, treasure of life, sanctified, all by earth and sky.
Good morning, folks. I'm just going to mention that Robin Yaremcio is here. There's a little notation that says host under the still picture of me. But there's Robin. And we are so grateful to have her as our volunteer summer student. And I felt an immediate relief after we met on Friday, and she said, I can do that. I can do that. And, so Robin is going to do the magic of putting the screen slides in time. A couple things to mention as we gather, as well as welcoming and giving thanks for Robin, is that there are people again who helped to build our service today by sending pictures from their farm or garden. And I also have been known to actually take a few from people's Facebook page as well. And we have some prayer needs or requests, partly that have come from our the love of our pastoral care committee members to go and take our phone list and try to reach out to everyone on our phoning list, our contact list, and see how they can just visit with folks in that way at this time. And the things I'm able to share in prayerful concern are that Zena Kalina, sadly and too suddenly, lost her grandson Curtis in an accidental death. And Bernice Brown fell and broke her hip and is in care at this time. She's come through surgery. Jim Robbins is in care at Stettler Hospital. Jim Tennant is still awaiting next stages for his visit with oncology. And that path. Janie called me the other day and said, would you like some good news? And I said, of course, please, thank you. And it was that Marguerite Baugh was able to leave hospital and return to what she knows as home at Points West. Barbara, did you want to mention from Erskine or Big Valley?
Yes, good morning, thank you. I still would like to ask for prayers for Ross Annabelle, please.
Thank you. Ross Annabelle. And those who also continue to support with financial support, we thank you as well. And in this time, we are getting some of the government support, and we continue to be very much in touch with our Chinook Winds region and our national church about what is available. On the table here, I have some wheat kernels and some wheat stalks to remind us that we are gathering for Rural Life Sunday. Some people call it the Blessing of Seed Sunday. Light the candle. When we live in rural Alberta, whether we are farmers or gardeners, or whether we just enjoy the fruits of their labors, we do live the cycle of the seasons with our farmers. So let's go to our candle lighting, where I have a quote. You've seen the potato planting video, which was wonderful. And our quote today, to help us find our focus in worship, says, "Rise from your slumber each morning with devotion to the goodness and possibility of the day. Even before you are fully awake, rise to offer a blessing for the adventure before you. A hopeful prayer on your lips for all." And if you would like in your own way to follow the words on the screen, or to indeed join in the words, but with your mic muted, let us use these words from the social justice interdenominational group Kairos Canada, our call to worship. Each tender seedling sings out, "Nurture hope this day." Every act of kindness is a sign. Nurture hope this day. Each morning sunburst asks of us, "Nurture hope this day." Every word of truth is meant to say, "Nurture hope this day." Each persistent prayer gives us the strength to nurture hope this day. And Dave Goodwin took to heart the gospel message. There's 3 of the Gospels that celebrate and share with us the story, the parable of the sower and the seed, and Dave put it to music.
Hope is the seed, and you, Lord, the sower, spreading your word o'er all of the land. Make in our hearts the right kind of soil, abundantly growing the work of your hand. People that have a heart that is hardened, calloused by fear and blinded by hurt, hope will be snatched by misunderstanding. The seeds of redemption won't grow in that dirt. If you have faith like bouquets of flowers, lovely to see, but fragile and frail, rootless it withers under the onslaught of troublesome people who want you to fail. Worries like weeds will choke out the goodness, spoil the harvest, ruin the field. Trust in the Lord to nurture the good seed. His caring compassion will increase the yield. Open your ears, you people, and listen. Open your eyes, you people, and see. Fill up your hearts with true understanding that Jesus, our Savior,
Thank you, David and Barbara Lynn. And this prayer, similarly, is from Kairos, Canada. And let's be led in prayer with these words and images. This is a prayer adapted from the words of Archbishop Oscar Romero. God of hope, help us to step back and take the long view. Remind us that what we do in our lifetime is only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is your work. Nothing we do is complete, which is only a way of saying that your realm always lies beyond us. No statement says all that could be said. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No one program accomplishes the church's mission. No set of goals includes everything. Help us remember what we are really about. We plant seeds that one day grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need future development. We provide yeast that produces far beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything. Knowing this frees us and enables us to do something. It may seem incomplete, but it is really a beginning, a step along the way. Our efforts provide an opportunity for your grace to enter and do the rest. You are the master builder, and we work with you. We may never see the end results that are known to you. Even so, we are prophets of a future that holds your promise. Amen. So Dave helped us enter into this story, and this is a paraphrase along with some beautiful artwork that I happened to find with clay or plasticine or something. And listen, says Jesus to us, listen, I have a story for you. A farmer went out to sow seed. In scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places, where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, so that they did not bear grain. Still other seed fell on good soil. It came up, grew, and produced a crop, some multiplying 30, some 60, some 100 times. May God grant us understanding that we may take heart and attend to this calling and this truth in our lives. And this quote to put alongside our parable lesson. Everything is a parable that God is speaking to us. The art of life is to get the message. Sounds like a parent, eh? The art of life is to get the message. Not just hear what is said, but to know So let us then celebrate the many kinds of seeding that we can think of, and the many kinds of attending to that which is sown in our lives, in our communities, in our churches. And there's just one picture of Asher enjoying, our little grandson enjoying the cold frame. They have greenhouse and cold frame because in Newfoundland they have a very short growing season. So they are trying to supplement the season. Well, this week I talked with a variety of farmers and gardeners, but one particular farm couple, we talked a little bit about what kind of plants and livestock they are raising, but more so about them endeavoring to partner with their children in their at-home schooling. And this particular daughter, who I think is only about grade 7 at the most, had a recent math assignment. And believe me, the minute it goes to math, I almost check out of the conversation, but I tried to get it. And I'd rather be talking about digging in the dirt, but I tried to follow the conversation as they said that their daughter's assignment was to show their work when it came to understanding the math concept of permutations and prognostications. And Bob, when I mentioned this at supper time, said, I think I took that in Math 31, and now it's come down to many grades lower. But anyways, to do so, they made graphs regarding Lottery 649, calculating the odds of winning as they worked with 49 numbers and 6 slots, and then sometimes there's bonus numbers. Yikes. I like the fact that they were finding a practical application that they could work with the calculations to help their daughter understand. Right here in Stettler, we have the Lottery Commission office. So they chose this experiment related to a business that employs people here in Stettler for many years now. And I told them, well, my answer to all things lottery, except the most minimal of investment in a little raffle or something, is I don't have to understand the math or show my work because I think of myself as a winner, having never bought the tickets. But surely a conversation about lotteries takes us to the very heart of rural life farming. It is the biggest gamble out there. But first, let's pause and reflect a moment on the joy of anticipation, the excitement of living in this year country, let alone next year country, of holding a seed in your hand and letting the soil filter through your fingers, and think of all that potential, 30, 60, 100-fold. All that potential that's right there. And while we are on math, another little story was shared on Facebook, and I put it on our Facebook. I don't know if you can even see that I have the actual prop for this joke. But the joke said, I support farming. In fact, you could call me a
protractor.
Protractor, exactly. I even knew what this math marvel was. So we can be pro-farming because we can get caught up in the anticipation and the excitement and taste the bread out of the oven even as we hold the wheat seed. Alongside the eagerness, then we think about all the many calculated risks, the questions that need to be taken into consideration. Perhaps keeping the money in your pocket is the winning answer after all. You think the farmer, the gardener has to think, do I have the right or the good seed. What about the soil? Oh, we better check the moisture and the manure content. Start counting the frost-free nights. You don't just want to be sold a whole bag of goods, so at some point, you just do get on with it. And you put another season's promise in the ground, as folk singer Stan Rogers says so well. There are so many variables, and farmers and fishers and gardeners are unable to control them all. And of course, that right there is a big hint to why this is included as a scriptural lesson. Not everyone will get a good crop. There will be winners and losers, but if you have a heart, you'll remember that everyone the world over needs to eat. Therein, no doubt, lies a message that can come from the parable. What's our share? And how do we share in what is beyond our control, but within our realm of possible action as we celebrate God's provision? Confessing there are many things we cannot control is certainly a good start. We have to let God be God. The ongoing tension in life, let alone farming and gardening, is the sovereignty of God and the responsibility that comes with free will as humans. We certainly don't know everything there is to know about God's timing. Ours is to be faithful to planting, scattering good seed, and cultivating good soil. Ours is to mature in faith, count our blessings, know of our privilege, and let the Spirit lead us in sharing and redistributing God's good gifts intended for all. So there's so many examples and illustrations that come to mind. On Wednesday at StetlerLocal.com, I talked about living and working and serving in Killam during the drought times of the early 2000s. It was very hard to see grown men cry, as the stereotype goes. Farmers with 50 or more years of experience, all of a sudden second-guessing their choices, their chances they'd made or taken. And there was Pay West, a symbolic gesture from Ontario farmers to support Alberta farmers. And in a small way, I was a part of redistributing some financial donations that came from Ontario congregations to be shared in some way. And we decided in investing something for the people within our Central Alberta congregations who were in agricultural school. And so it probably only bought them a textbook, but it hopefully let them know they were not alone. Or in the floods of 2013. And at the time, I was living by the river in Drumheller, and the next spring I was here in Stettler, and we, among many United Church of Canada congregations, responded to the request from High River United Church to send sunflower seeds. And they blanketed the town and on beyond because they asked for 4,000 packets to put in the mailboxes in High River, so every household could plant sunflowers, and they got 18,000. And so they shared them abroad in other communities affected. And the sunflowers, the science of it all was to say the sunflowers not only provided a beautification to their ravaged communities, but also it took the toxicity out of the silt that had been left to be on their yards and gardens and fields. And one of the photos that I put in today's slideshow is from the Red Deer Advocate, a story about the Central Alberta Grow Project for the Canadian Food Grains Bank. They seeded 120 acres of canola on the May long weekend. And despite the local economic woes, the committee member interviewed said that entering their 25th year, they recognize they are so blessed, and it is theirs to think that they have the responsibility to continue to help those that aren't as fortunate. Growing and shopping local is part of the learning and responding to living with COVID-19. And I've seen that in people asking for where can I find more seeds and so forth. And I also saw it as the headline in the East Central Review. I often do read this editorial column by Brenda Shimke, and the headline was Resiliency versus Efficiency. And the bold print little box within the article said local and regional food networks should be our government's subsidy priority. So of course I wanted to know why is she shooting on somebody? And but it follows up on the news of the meat packing processing plants in High River and in Brooks. And she puts forward the fact that the Cargill plant and the JBS meatpacking plant in Brooks are corporately owned respectively by American and Brazilian billionaires. In gambling terms, they are the house and they will always win. And yet our federal government set aside $77 million in the first round of financial help for the agricultural sector to invest in safer working conditions in these foreign-owned plants. Brenda Shimke says it is disgusting on the one front, bailing out billionaires, but on the other front, this public investment has a payback in terms of putting a lid on healthcare costs. Her ending comment being that the preference she would like is governments build resiliency into the system for all Canadians, to have an ag industry that provides uninterrupted, healthy, and affordable food even during a pandemic. And then that editorial wove into a conversation I had with a senior citizen, both of us having read and appreciated the article. And then we talked about other kinds of seed, including what we invest in. And some have the choice to invest in locally produced foodstuffs, and yet it's usually more expensive than the mass-produced. And she said, well, we're getting in our household 2 of those bonus checks, $300 that will come alongside our regular pension check. And I like that she said, well, they are set to receive them on the one hand, and they know that it's probably easier for the administration to send everybody, not that it's necessarily justified to every household, but send them out to everybody living with COVID-19. We all are. And yet, if you do not need that money, like they don't in their household expenses, she said it's similar to when we got the Ralph bucks, right? How about share those with an agency or a charitable cause that provides much needed community response to human ailments and tragedies? And so it's kind of out of the pocket of the government on one hand and into the pocket of what we expect government to serve is the well-being of our communities or beyond. So in all of these conversations and examples, we then broaden what it is. Rural life. We are called, O children of God, to listen, learn, and lead, to sow seeds in so many wondrous ways, so many varieties, to plant hope, and against all odds, trust the promise that God will give the growth. So from Jim and Jean Strathdee, along with their daughter, who also singing on this song, Julie, we hear Water Me.
Water me,
The sign, hopefully you can see it. It's a treasure that we inherited from Bob's mom and dad, who were very, very good gardeners. The kiss of the sun for pardon, the song of the bird for mirth. One is nearer God's heart in a garden than anywhere else on earth. So let us draw near to God's heart as we gather those names that come to your mind, celebrating new life and new promise, as well as our hopes for those who are ill or in transition or in that time of wondering what's wrong and what might help. And then I'll lead in prayer, and then Barbara, Lynn, and David will lead us in singing the prayer Jesus taught. So open your hearts. Let's be with God in prayer. Showers of blessing. Today we sing our praise, O God, for this $1 million rain that lifts the spirits and nurtures the very seed and soil that has been planted with the intention to feed the world anew this year. So we join in that spirit of praising you for that which is beyond our control and yet so in our hope and intent. Continue to sow those seeds within our souls, within those who live in East Central rural Alberta, within those who serve in any way of extending hope and promise, investing their time, their talent, their treasure in what would be good for this your world. Be with those who share in care, we pray, as we bring to mind those who are in need of comfort and pain management, those who are in need of a touch, a healing touch, a listening ear, those who are in need of a plan to escape and flee from violence, even in their own home. Those who are in need of their teachers' support, their parents' support, their classmates' support in learning and leading. Those who need friendships and friendly calls and messages as they are so alone. Those that need a treatment plan, and those that need to travel virtually and feed their souls lest they live in despair and disappointment. Help us to connect, O God, one to another, and live into this season that calls us to grow, bloom where we are planted, and trust the process of maturing, body, mind, and soul. Gather us, our needs, our prayers this day, as we in turn join with one voice in praying as Jesus prayed.
heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from the time of trial and deliver us from evil. For the kingdom of God and the glory are yours, now and forever.
Here's a farmer out Bashaw way. So these words come from Cheryl Laurie, who's part of the Canadian Food Grains Bank Advocacy and Action Group. And it's called a commissioning that is The Faith of Fools. They are right. Those who doubt what we do, it is purely the product of overactive imaginations. Who but the foolish would look at barren ground and imagine food for all? See past desolation and believe it will become an oasis. Would not be stopped by war, but live for the day it will be peace, and reach deep into the world's fear in the prayer it would bring life. So, if faith is the terrain of the deluded, then may we leave here with the faith of fools who have loved the world since its beginning and will live for its redemption until its end. Folks, live into your day and week with gratitude, as Diana Butler Bass preaches, teaches, and calls. We live in thanks and giving. Amen. And the closing hymn today is a sung version from Isaiah chapter 55, and it's "We Shall Go Out with Joy." I think of a friend from the Drumheller congregation who said, "This is going to be at my funeral." And we can hope that we can live a full and faithful life and leave this world with joy and know that we believe in the fullness of God and the rebirthing that does come as well. So these are pictures that I took from Antoinette and Brian Laughlin's tree farm, another kind of farming. Clap our hands like the trees of the field.
You shall go out. The hills will break forth before you, there'll be shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands. While you go out with joy, you shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands. For you go